Okay, GD Talbot here. So this video, I wanted to talk about inspiration, creativity, and editing, and how to, or I shouldn't say how to, but the importance of separating out when to do each. I think a lot of authors have a problem with this. Anyone who follows me knows I wrote a little thing, a little blog, and made a graph called the Inspirational Creative Loop, and I made it basically describing my process. And the best part of this process is it's self-feeding. So as long as you're within the process, you're always moving in the process. You never have to worry about like writer's block or anything. You're constantly in motion. Um, and I think the hardest part of this, I'm not going to go over the entire thing. That would be a very long video. But I think an important thing is to separate out, inspiration, creativity, and editing. Because one of the biggest things I've seen people do is they try to edit while they write. While you're also, the inspirational creative loop has to do with beginning to end of your first rough draft. So it's not something you really do like revising and things like that, or it's not just the part where you're kind of imagining it in your mind. It's the entire process of up to a first rough draft. And I say right in the thing, once your first rough draft is done, then you decide whether you're going to edit it or not. And you don't decide edit or not until you decide, do I want to share this story with the world? Yes or no? Yes, then you edit. And I think it's a good idea to keep editing separate from inspiration and creativity. Now, talking about the separation of, and that's the most important one, was the editing. Keep editing out of your inspirational creative loop or your creative process, whatever it is you do to be inspired, create, and get your first rough draft done of your book. And I think it's very important. Keep the editing separate. Editing should never be done until the end. And here's the reason why, because people say to me, well, I'm writing this, but I'm wondering if no, or maybe I shouldn't. These words should never be a part of your inspiration and your creative process. You should never hear anything like this. You should never hear no, stop, should I, maybe that should be different. Oh, what percentage of the population might be offended by that? If you were hearing any of these things in that inspirational loop, I'm going to keep referring to my inspirational creative loop because that's what I do until I get a first rough draft. After the first rough draft, editing is where you say, maybe I should change this. Maybe I should research that. Maybe this is something that some people might find offensive, and I don't want to offend. But remember, your book is about you, not your audience. Oh, I know I made people angry with that statement, but it's true. You're creating the book. And once you get a great story put together, let's say you go to a publishing house and the editor's going over it, and they say, would you be bothered by changing this little bit and that little bit to get it published? That's when you have that thought process too. Or should I say, you can have that process too. Should I eliminate this element that they're telling me 3 point whatever percent of the population might be upset with that? Is it something that would affect my story? Sure, but never during the creation of the first rough draft. Now, it's this thing I've noticed people have argued with me in the past because they're like saying, oh, you don't care about people. No, I'm saying not during the inspirational creative loop for me process to make a first rough draft. Now, inspiration and creativity is actually kind of separate. I can't talk today making these videos. Separate. Inspiration should inspire you to create. Creating should be something different. Now, if you create a writing process where your inspiration leads to creativity, your creativity will eventually lead to inspiration. That's basically what my inspirational creative loop does. But find the things that inspire you. Now, a similarity between inspiration and creating is in both parts, you should not hear no, maybe, is that bad? Like if you're writing something and in the process, you're writing your first rough draft and you think it might be offensive or bad or wrong to do, laugh. Laugh and keep going. The last 2 books I wrote, especially the last novel, I have 2 novels that I've written and completed and ready for publication that I'm working on right now. The one about Protectors of Life, The Tale of Trudy. I have laughed. I'm like, oh man, I wonder what percentage is going to get offended by that. And I kept going. See, I turned a negative into a positive, kept creating. So if you're going to create, find out what inspires you, and what inspires you should make you want to create. There should be no negative, no no's, no maybes. It should automatically flow. Your creativity process should flow into a first rough draft. Then you can worry about, things being perfect and correct, or things that you might bother you. Like, I write things, and sometimes I've been told straight out, one of my published books offends 0.035 something percent of the population, and I laughed my head off at it was a Cornell professor who told me this, and I asked her, is there a way I can write a story that offends 50% of the population and make the other 50% love it? Because I'll be a billionaire in a year. So, like, it depends on your point of view. A lot of people don't have that point of view. But again, find out what inspires you. I've in past videos and stuff, blogs I've talked about, being outdoors inspires me, even though I don't write a lot about the outdoors. Like, sometimes I don't even have outdoor elements in stories, but being outside in nature, I can pound out a chapter a day, going out fishing, going out on walks, find a nice place to sit. I don't know why. Just being in that Zen moment and outside, I get massively inspired. I'd say the last 3 or 4 stories, actual stories, like I've written a few short stories too, but the last at least 3 novels I've written have been all outside, I believe. I want to be quote because I want to have to double check my notes on the Crystal Sphinx. And the last 2 or 3 short stories I've written have been outdoors. And it's just, I don't know why. I couldn't even explain to you why it inspires me. It just does. It inspires me to create, and then I create. And then I go around the loop. So anyhow, I hope this is helpful for anyone. Find out what inspires you and hold it. It's yours. Don't let anybody tamper with it. In fact, if things inspire you the most and you're not 100% sure that the people around you are going to be supportive of what inspires you, it's yours. Keep it in yourself. Don't share it. And remember, inspiration must lead to creativity. If it's not leading to creativity, it's probably not inspiring you. If you're hitting your no's or maybes during your creative process, get rid of it, throw it out, get rid of it, gone. This is hard for some people because some people say, oh no, I don't want it. No, you do. And it's just throwing it out of the creative process. Make a separate editing process. It will make things so much easier and better for you. So again, inspiration will lead to creativity. Creativity will lead to inspiration. Editing, leave out in a different process. And I'm GD Talbot. If you're out and about today, say some kind words to someone, especially in retail. Kind words spread joy. And I'm dry and I'm out.